Hi everybody, and welcome back to the Reconnection channel. This is the space where we get reconnected and we get connected on what's going on in our lives, with ourselves, with relationships, and I get to connect with some amazing guests. And my guest this week is the wonderful Suzan Maur. Welcome, wonderful, wonderful. Now, Susan's going to tell you a little bit about herself, but Suz is she is wonderful. She's been an amazing support for me as I work on my dream project of writing my first book, and she's actually helping me make that go from a dream to reality. But lots and lots of interesting things that I know about Suz, and she has, as all our guests do, agreed to share one of her reconnection moments, because that's what we like to hear about. We want to hear those stories from real people about real life events that have created a change, made a shift, and got you reconnected in some way. So Suz, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm originally Canadian. Brought over here by my parents when I was a very tiny baby, because they decided they wanted to leave Canada and come and live in England. I still go back to Canada every year for a few weeks, and hence a slightly mid-Atlantic accent. Sorry about that. I work as a writer and an author coach and a publishing consultant, and been very lucky here to have Ali as one of my clients.
Wow.
And yeah, really looking forward to your book.
Thank you.
I am divorced. I have a son of 26, and I have a menagerie of rescued dogs and cats. And I live near Milton Keynes, England. Heard of it?
So we do have to say as well that this is a very rare occasion where Reggie, the crazy sprocker, is allowed to reign, because Suz is an animal lover, and I think Reggie gets that. And so we may get interrupted with the sprocker. He's trying desperately to get our attention. He's gone off sulking at the moment, but he will be back. So we're just going to let him do that, and if he comes on camera, that will be fine. That's fine. So, yeah, wonderful that you're here to join us, and I just love what you do in terms of helping people who have that dream of writing a book actually make that become real, because it's a real complex process. And I know everyone says it's easy, you can get self-published, but there's a whole minefield of things. Oh, here he is.
Here he comes.
Here he is. Sorry.
No.
Reggie, this video isn't about you.
You never make TV programs with children or animals.
No. But that's kind of where you are in your life right now, isn't it? So that's what you're doing right now, in terms of helping people make that, become a reality. But you've obviously agreed to share with us a moment in your life which created that change. So what was that moment for you?
It wasn't all that long ago. In fact, it was about a year ago.
Wow.
Just over a year ago, so in late 2017.
Okay.
I've been working since the dark ages as an advertising copywriter, which I loved for a long time, but I've begun to feel less and less enthusiastic about writing website text for plumbing companies, or even for accountants. Sorry, accountants, but there's only so much you can do. And I thought, what else do I do that I really love? One of it was writing books, because I've had 35 books of my own published.
I was going to say, we need to say that, don't we? That the reason she's so good at what she does is because you've lived and breathed it yourself.
Yes, and a lot of author coaches, some haven't even written a book ever. Yeah. They've been editors, which is fine, but in my case, I've done that too. But also, I have had the experience of different types of publishing, and I've heard all the silly stories, and I've heard about all the scams, and there are a lot of scammers out there who will take advantage of new authors. So I had that experience, and then obviously being in advertising for so long, I had the experience of marketing. So I thought, why don't I put the two together and become an author coach who helps people write books and market them? And I came to this decision just over 1 year ago. Come on, Reggie, do you think it's a good idea? And Actually, I made the announcement to all my friends on Facebook and friends in networking groups, and I felt like I'd stood in the middle of the street and taken all my clothes off
Wow.
because I'd made that decision,
Mm.
and I thought, now I've got to make it work because I've told everybody.
But you know, that's everybody that I interview, you know, on here. So many of them say that once they've made the decision and announced it, that's the moment. You know, so lots of thought process leading up to it, lots of what ifs, but then you step into that kind of, right, I'm doing it, and then you say it, you know, or you start doing whatever it is you're doing, and that's when you get that feeling, isn't it?
Yes, I'll tell you when I really got that feeling of reconnect. Was when I first started working with you, which was just about 1 year ago, just
It took
before
me a long
Christmas.
time to write this book.
And I said, well, yeah, it's happening.
Yes.
It's actually happening. And I love it. I mean, I now wish I'd done this 20 years ago.
Well, I have to say as well, so I knew Suz through networking before the big aha reconnection moment. And I sort of knew you, but, and you know, I will be honest, you know, you didn't really stand out, you know, from the group. You were the lady that did copywriting, etc. Since you have been doing this, it's a whole new you. You know, you can see how passionate, and I hate people who use that word lightly, but you know, you can see how passionate you are about it. You can see how enthused you are about it. You know, your blogging has gone through the roof. You know, your website is doing amazingly. Whilst doing this, you've written more books yourself. You know, and I think that's a real sign. You have to love what you do, and you really love doing this.
Yeah, I think another important thing to remember about this is that for probably the last 5 years or maybe even more of being a copywriter, I wasn't really being honest with myself because I wasn't really happy doing it anymore.
Yeah.
But it took a lot of energy and guts, spherical objects, I don't have any, to actually take that step and do it.
Yeah, it is. When you have been doing any kind of, you know, whether you're leaving a corporate world that you've worked your way up in and you've worked hard in, or if you've got that business idea and you've been working on that business idea, you know, whatever life change you're making, it takes courage, doesn't it, to say, I don't want to do it, or it's not working, or I need to change something, because you think, well, what will that look like to everybody else? Will they wonder why I'm, you know, making this change? There's a whole host of thought processes that goes on, you know, when you're in that space, isn't there?
Yes, and also, I mean, I'm not getting any younger, and I thought, well, actually, if I don't do it now, who wants an 80-year-old author coach? So I hope I have, you know, quite a few decades left in which to help people write books. But I really enjoy. I'm working 7-day weeks at the moment to get everything in because I've become very busy. We also launched our own imprint, as you know, called Cavalcade Books, and that's taken off and become very busy, both with existing people who are publishing and the next tranche of authors for next year.
Lovely.
So I'm looking forward to the Christmas holidays so I can take some time off and finish a book of my own.
What's your new book about?
It's an upgrade, if you like, of one which did very well and became an organic and genuine Amazon #1 bestseller, which is called How to Write Winning Non-Fiction.
Right.
So this one is going to be called The Simple Way to Write Your Non-Fiction Book.
Fantastic, fantastic.
And then I've got another joke book planned for next year.
Oh, I love your joke books. They're really good.
Yeah. Well, that's if I have time.
If you have time, because you've got my book that you're working on.
Yes,
you've got to get my book out.
Yes. And also, the other thing that's wonderful is that I get as excited about my clients' books as I do about my own.
Yes.
And it's wonderful. It's this completely new world. I think you do the same job for a long time as I did with copywriting.
Yeah.
You tend to become a little bit jaded and blasé, and oh yeah, it's another email campaign, and that's no good. If you're not enjoying it, you really do need to rethink, because there is nothing more satisfying, frankly, than to be doing a job that you really love. So
thank you so much for sharing that reconnection moment. And now you've shared that, I I love the fact that I've seen you go through that. I can absolutely picture that change that you had, and, you know, and the change in you. So just as Reggie gets back in the frame, because it's all about him, tell people how they can find you. How can they get in touch?
They can find me on my website, which is called howtowritebetter.net. And there's instructions on the home page of how to get in touch.
Lovely. So my final question to you before we go, as always, is reconnection. What does it mean to you?
It means, if you possibly can, do a job that you love.
Wonderful. So we hope you've enjoyed this rather different episode of the Reconnection channel. If you have, don't forget to click like, but also don't forget to click on that all-important subscribe. Reggie's now jogging the table terribly. So click on subscribe so that you never miss an episode. And if you have a story for Reconnection channel, then please do drop us a note. We're always looking for new people. But if you have a story that you want to get published, then you need to speak to this lady here and talk about how you do that. And you could make your dream come true. You could write that book and you could see your name in print. And that's just an amazing thing to actually get those words on a page. All right, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week on the Reconnection channel.
Bye.